Good morning, Alliance of Delray. This is Lori Vinacore, Executive Vice President. We are going to have a candidates forum today, and we have some wonderful guests here invited. There are a lot of things happening with the development in the area. So one thing is the Agriculture Reserve, and you can see the newsletter that we have this month. It's very important to look at the newsletter because it's all about the Agriculture Reserve this month. And you can see the Alliance is working on many things, including the expansion of Atlantic Avenue. And because between the Turnpike and 441, the canal is going to have to be moved south, we're looking to design possibly a linear park. So that's a wonderful thing that we're working on. The other thing is in the news, there's been 3 applications and they've all been off the table now. They would have increased density, increased intensity, and it would have impacted the amount of preserve that we usually would get when a plan unit development comes up for an application. The other thing is the McDonald's issue. In our newsletter this month, you can see that we've got another ballot there still. Please keep sending them in because the Alliance will be at the August meeting of the Zoning Commission to actually speak on that. And we are, of course, opposed to this, and there's lots of reasons why that this doesn't belong there. And it's at the corner of Legends Way and Atlantic Avenue. So, and we will be having probably a town hall meeting, I'm sure, about this, and we'll get residents, just like the Zoomcast, to actually ask questions and answers and to get more information about the McDonald's and to also voice your opinion. And the third thing is, you know, we run from the ocean to the Everglades and East Delray, there's issues there too. We're helping one of our communities, our very good communities that's been here a long time, on Linton Boulevard, and there's a problem with a bus stop that they've been waiting for a long time to get a covered bus stop. So we're looking to see what we can do for them. Lots of things going on there. And of course, this COVID-demic or pandemic, we are sending to everyone as much information as possible. So those are some of the announcements. You know, you can always get in touch with the Alliance. The phone number is always on the email, so please do call us if you have any questions and need any help with anything. This is going to be a Democratic candidates forum, and since the Alliance is nonpartisan, civic organization will be holding a separate one in a couple of weeks for the Republican candidates. So today we are having the senators, representatives, and some commissioners as candidates today. We always start our meetings with updates from our first responders. So today we have Sheriff Bradshaw, and I'm going to spotlight him right now, and he's going to give us an update on what's going on with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, good morning to everybody. Things are very good in the county. For the most part, the protesters have significantly lowered the number of protests that they're involved in, and whatever ones that have taken place have been very well managed, and everybody's had a chance to speak their mind in a nice, orderly fashion and go about their business. The COVID issue is somewhat on the rise, but I think that the county's got some good thoughts on how we can continue to contain that, yet continue to move forward in the different phases. Unfortunately, because of what Broward and Dade have done with their beaches and closing up, we're going to have to close ours for a short period of time here over the 4th of July, because basically, if we didn't, we're going to have all the people from Dade and Broward up here. So I don't want the residents to think it's anything that we've done wrong here. For the most part, everybody's done a very good job when they go to the beach is keeping the distances, and when they're out in public wearing the mask. So, you know, there's a few violations here and there, but, you know, the mayor and the county has done a good job on putting together a plan to address those situations. We're part of that task force, and we're going to keep going forward with that. My budget has been submitted. We did a good job of getting it down to an acceptable level where the county is comfortable with a minor increase of around 4%. They think that will give them the opportunity to do what they need to do budgetarily for the rest of the county. It's always a challenge, especially now because, you know, the people that run the healthcare system for the jail, the people that feed the inmates, and the fact that, you know, we've had to do a lot of different things on our end with the COVID obviously has increased some of the costs. So we're going to defray some of the other things in the budget to the next budget year that we probably would have gotten this time. I know there's been some discussions out there on why we haven't started the body camera program. Actually, in the 23-24 half-cent sales tax issue, there is some money set aside for the technology to improve the camera system, including the body cameras. So we've told the commissioners if they want to try to move that up a year, we're certainly amenable to that. We have no problem getting the body cameras. It's just the expense, which is around $19 million. The actual camera itself is not the issue. We have to have new servers. Our servers are old and they won't take the capacity of it. So, you know, between that, the people to manage the program, the people to manage the public records request, the cameras themselves, it will take about 36 months to implement it, but we've already started looking at how we can do that. So it's not a matter of if it's going to happen, just a matter of when and how fast we can do it. But we certainly don't have any objections to it. We use cameras all over the place, and it's a good piece of equipment to have. So all in all, everything is good. You know, we're headed into, you know, the 4th of July weekend and a lot of vacation time between now and August. People are going to try to take a few days off. I'm going to try it myself now that things are slowing down a little bit, and grab a few days off before things start heating up again in August, September, October. So all in all, things are good. The lieutenant in the district down there is going to give you a local update. But again, thanks for having me on. And I'm going to drop off this call. I've got something else to pay attention to. But we're here for you. We're going to make sure you're safe. And thank you for everybody for your support.
Thank you so much for coming today, Sheriff Bradshaw, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Absolutely.
Great. Now we will go on to the Lieutenant Michael Morales, and he will give us a local update. Spotlighting Lieutenant Morales. Hello.
Hello, I got the spotlight. All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. It's my pleasure. For those of you not familiar with me, I'm Lieutenant Mike Morales. I'm the executive officer here in District 4. The reason I'm here is, like the sheriff mentioned, vacations. Captain Sam is away enjoying vacation himself. So first off, I hope everybody's well and healthy. Our deputies are doing great. We check in on them on a daily basis. We have plenty of PPE equipment that's been provided to us through the agency, so there's no shortages anywhere regarding that. I want to give you an update about our lobby here. So our lobby remains closed, and it will remain closed to the public until we start seeing some of these numbers decrease. So if you need information as far as pulling reports or anything that has to do with the sheriff's office that you normally would come here to the lobby, I suggest you visit our website at pbso.org, and they set up a lot of good information there that could answer some of the questions that you may have. As far as crime, it continues to trend down. So year to date, we are 38% down from last year regarding crime. So we're super excited about that here at District 4, and you all should be as well. That's a very significant number, which is a testament to the men and women out there doing their daily work on a daily basis, okay? I wanted to touch on one scam that came up this a couple weeks ago, and it's a phone call that these scammers will call, and they claim to be a DEA agent. They say that you have a warrant, and on this particular one, they're requesting $5,000 in gift cards so the warrant can be cleared up. So what they do is they tell the victim their name and their social security, and in turn, they ask them to go to the store, buy gift cards, call them back, okay, and give the gift card number over the phone. So this happened until the victim finally realized something wasn't right, called a a relative and said, hey, you're being scammed. So best practice, if it's an unknown number, do not answer it. If it's somebody that really needs to get a hold of you, they'll leave a voicemail. And secondly, when in doubt, if something doesn't seem right, something smells a little fishy, it's not good. Nobody's going to be calling you asking for your personal information, and no one's going to be calling you asking to receive any type of payment. So keep that in mind. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the community support. On a weekly basis, we're getting overwhelmed with phone calls from the community of wanting to support law enforcement, how happy they are, how can they help. So they've delivered food here to the district. They sent letters, cards, all kinds of things. And the support's been great, especially with all the negativity going on with the media and what you see on social media and stuff. So it's encouraging and nice to see that the community supports law enforcement. And we make sure that that message gets back to them because they need to hear it. It's important. In closing, just everybody be safe, take care, and it's going to be busy this holiday weekend. So thanks for having me. Take care, Dr. Vinacore.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, great. Well, we will go on now to our candidates forum. And just to explain to our viewers here that we will be having this timed, and it will be for about 4 minutes you'll have. So I have my co-host here, and it is Paul Finkelstein, and he will be explaining the timing parameters.
Sure, absolutely. And for the candidates, so you could pay attention to the timer. If you could keep your mode in gallery mode so you could see the timer. At 3 minutes, you'll see the green light. And then at 3.5, the yellow light or the yellow background. And then at 4 minutes, the red light, of which you'll have 30 seconds to wrap it up.
Great. Okay, so we're going to start with our Senator Lori Berman. She is unopposed for the Democratic candidate for Senate District 31. She's going to be speaking to us here. So we're going to spotlight her right now. And there you go, Senator Berman.
All right, I love it. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for putting this together, Lori. I really appreciate it. And thank you to all the Alliance and for all of you for being on the call this morning and for being so involved in your community and being civically involved. And you do make a difference, and that's why it's really important that we have these kind of events so that you can learn about who is running to represent you. Many of you know I ran for state representative in 2010, and at that time I had the Alliance in my community. So I've known a lot of you for over 10 years, and it's been my pleasure to work with you throughout that whole time. I am running again. I will be on the ballot in November. But as Dr. Vinacore said, I won't be on the ballot in August, but you will see my name on the ballot in November. I just want to give you a little bit of an update. The governor signed the budget on Monday. He cut $1 billion, which is really significant. I'm not even sure, though, that that's going to be enough to help with what's gone on with the COVID and economic crisis that we're facing here in Florida. A lot of the cuts, unfortunately, were toward local projects, including some of my projects that I was really disappointed about. And certainly we'll look at those projects again for future and see what we can do about those. One of the most disappointing things about the way the budget cuts were done was that in April, there was a $500 million huge tax credit that went only to very large corporations. And at that time, we asked the governor not to give them back that money, that he had emergency power not to. It was reimbursing them for some money that because of the federal tax code change. And believe me, those corporations were fine. If we hadn't done that, he wouldn't have had to cut $1 billion from the budget. So I want to just talk very briefly about everything that's going on right now. I'm sure you're all aware that the COVID numbers are surging. It's really disconcerting. We are very worried about it. We don't have anything other than we had in 1918 when we had the pandemic to address this illness. And we need to be doing the social isolation, the tracing, the testing. I don't think Florida is doing enough of those things, especially given the surge that we have right now. I have advocated that the governor put together a task force. We call it the TTSI task force. It's for testing, tracing, and social isolation. I'm going to continue to be advocating for that. We need to do more of that. We had the curve flattened for a short period of time, and now it's on a huge upward trend. So please be safe. Please take care of yourself. Please wear masks. We know that masks are effective. Palm Beach County does have a mask law in effect. I wish the whole state did. But please take care of yourself. And then as a result of COVID, unfortunately, we have the economic crisis, which has been horrendous for many of our businesses. And as many of you know, and I know many of you have called my office, the unemployment situation has been abominable in Tallahassee. We have hundreds of thousands of people who still have received nothing. Okay, I see I'm getting toward my yellow light. And then the third problem that we have now is the racial injustice crisis. So we've got a lot of things on our plate in Tallahassee. And then there's a fourth crisis that we've almost not looked at, and that's the climate change issue. If the sea level rise continues, we're not going to be able to be discussing any of these issues. So I'm going to go to Tallahassee, just like I've gone for the last 10 years, and work on all of these crises on your behalf. I hope I'll have your vote in November, and thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you. Have a wonderful 4th, and I am going to have to run off this call because I have another event right after this, but thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Senator Berman. It's great to have you here. Always great to have you here. And we really enjoyed that last one that we had last month. We did have you speaking to us about issues and about the unemployment and COVID and all. Thank you. We're going to go on to the next one. We have 2 candidates for Senate District 29, and we're going in alphabetical order here. So we're going to have Representative Tina Polsky, candidate for Senate District 29, and I am going to spotlight Representative Polsky. And don't worry, we don't have a hook at 4 minutes. We don't have a hook, but we just ask you to wrap it up at 4 minutes. There's no hook to pull you off the stage here. So we're going to spotlight Representative Tina Polsky.
Thank you so much, Lori. I really appreciate it. Good morning, everyone in Delray Alliance, and thank you for all that you do for advocating for the Delray community. I am your state representative in District 81, which covers the western part of Delray, west of the Turnpike. So I've been very honored to represent you over the last 2 years and to be your voice in Tallahassee. I'm very proud of the record that I've had, the constituent services, the feedback we get from those in the community is really positive, and I hope that we have met your expectations and then some. I am looking to run for Senate District 29 now, which is Kevin Rader's seat, and he is not running again. He has endorsed me to run in this seat, along with Senator Berman and many others, to continue the great work that we've done at the state representative level and to be able to reach out to a wider range of Delray in particular. Just to give you an idea of District 29, it separated between Senator Berman and Senator Rader. So Senator Rader's area is basically the southwest quadrant from Military and Atlantic going south and west. So I will continue, hopefully if I win, to represent West Delray, but going a little further east than I have before. So just to highlight some of the important work that was done this past session, as Senator Berman described, the budget was actually really good and voted on unanimously for the first time in, I think, forever by both sides of the aisle. And it had full funding for affordable housing, the teacher pay raises, state employee raises, great money put aside for conservation lands. And unfortunately, as Senator Berman described, there were many cuts that took place to deal with the economic crisis that we were facing because of COVID. So you heard about a lot of the vetoes that actually came down 2 days ago. And I did have some projects vetoed, but I'm very proud to have brought back dollars to the much needed communities in Belglade and South Bay, which I represent now and hopefully will continue to represent in this Senate seat. They are impoverished communities and they needed important environmental works done with respect to stormwater and flooding. And so I'm very pleased that those projects remained. That is a testament to the great team in Palm Beach County, to my staff who work really hard, to all of those who worked on the projects, and to the relationships that I have built across the aisle to help get a Republican majority to support projects by a freshman Democrat. So I've had really good success the last 2 years in bringing money back to the district, and I'm very proud of that, and I will continue to work very hard towards that end. As far as legislation goes, I want to highlight just one piece of legislation that I put forward, which was to increase the consistency and the availability of Holocaust education in public schools. One of the very important parts is that charter schools were not included. So it was very important to me that they also be required to have Holocaust education in schools. So the way things go in Tallahassee, that bill was kind of overtaken by a Republican member. But the important thing is that the policy gets done. So I swallowed my pride, co-sponsored the bill, stood next to him, and was very happy that it passed. And that bill was signed into law. So you will see improvements in Holocaust education, as well as education about the Ocoee massacre, which was the worst massacre of African Americans in the state. So I'm very proud of that legislation, fighting for what our district needs. And I hope to have your vote for the Senate seat to continue the work that we're doing, to have a bigger voice in Tallahassee in the Senate, to be able to represent my constituents, to be boots on the ground dealing with this COVID pandemic. We have to deal with the unemployment crisis, fixing the system that is broken, dealing with the health crisis and the economic crisis. And you want the person in the trenches right now who is there and who will continue the work when we get to Tallahassee. It's just too important to start over again. So I'm really excited to be running, and I hope to have your support. Thank you so much, Alliance.
Thank you for being here today. Thank you for your work as representative. Okay, we're going to cancel the spotlight video, and we're going to go to the next. The next candidate for this same seat for Senate District 29 is a former Representative Irv Slosberg. So what we'll do is we will spotlight former Representative Slosberg, and there you are. You have the floor.
Greetings, Alliance of Delray. Thank you, Lori, for all your work, and Paul and Bob. Just to give you a little background on me, in February 23rd, 1996, I lost my daughter in a car crash. And it's an evening, you know, I'll never forget. I drove them to the mall, and the movie was next door. They were supposed to sit in the movie. They snuck out of the movie, and they took a ride with a 19-year-old guy, a stranger, and then the results were disastrous. I lost my daughter, Dory, and my life was never the same. And I told my daughter, Emily, after this, it's what you do after a tragedy that's important. Unfortunately, I'll never be able to bring my daughter Dory back again. For 2 years, I went to Starbucks, I went to the gym, and I went to the cemetery and cried every day for 2 years. And I wasn't the kind of guy to, I couldn't take it that everybody felt sorry for me. And one day I said, you know what, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm going to go run for election, and I'm going to go see what kind of changes I can make in public safety. And that's exactly what I did. And everyone said, oh, you can't beat the incumbent, and the incumbent has 42 endorsements and you have none. Well, I worked day and night. I got elected, and I got elected on seniors, public safety, and education. I went to Tallahassee, and I did so many things for, and it wasn't me by myself. It was me convincing the Republican legislature to do these things. I extended the statute of limitations of the exploitation of the elderly. I provided funding for transportation in the South County Federation, $1 million. I provided funding for the Holocaust survivors, $400,000. I provided funding for a driver's ed. And what I did was I added $5 to a traffic ticket, and Emily and myself drove around. It was a local option. We drove around for 10 years, and we got it enacted in 55 counties, and we brought in $55 million so far for driver education. And that's a big deal because there would be no driver education today. I championed mandatory seatbelt use first for minors. We had no seatbelt law. And then 2009, the Delray, Slosberg, Katie Marchetti seatbelt bill happened. And then guardrails. There were no guardrails on the turnpike. People were dying 500, 1,000 a year. And I got $24 million in the Alexander Ware Memorial Turnpike Barrier Bridge is the law now. And I instituted mandatory vision tests for people 80 years old, passed legislation that required mandatory driver's turn signals, passed Gabby's Law, which on the back of the school buses now you see 800, how's my driving? And the list goes on and on about all the legislation. And also the most important thing for me was protecting seniors and getting funding for our seniors in our community. And I was successful in that. And it was a real pleasure to deliver results for our community. I love coming back monthly and reporting how I convinced the Republican legislature to support and endorse public safety. Why am I running? We're not safe. I promise that I will continue my mission of public safety, and public safety is my #1 priority. Why aren't we safe? Oh, we got the COVID-19. We've got the results from the COVID-19, which is unemployment. And there's severe mental problems that come along with unemployment. You got to take on the Republican legislature. I mean, they don't even want to wear face masks. I mean, we got civil unrest. We got distracted drivers. I promised in 2000, when you elected me, I would execute all of my campaign promises. Seniors, public safety and education, and here it is, Sam and Sylvia Slosberg. And what did I say? I said, lower prescription drugs for our seniors. I delivered. More funding for senior citizens programs, including Alzheimer's daycare centers and senior mobility issues. I delivered. Primary enforcement of the seatbelt law. I delivered. Metal detectors in schools. I didn't deliver. And then school bus safety. I delivered. Well,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sam and Sylvia Slosberg, and my mother saying, Irving will make a good state representative. Vote for him. It's a new day. It's a new day with new promises, protecting our seniors. We got a COVID-19 problem, and we know it, and it brings on the unemployment issues and the COVID-19. We need more testing, more locations. We need better contact tracing. We need funding for research. We need critical resources for those affected. The unemployment benefits. I mean, sometimes you never get unemployment benefits. We need loans for small businesses.
Thank you so much.
It's a circle. And we come back to senior safety education. Let's do something about it. Let Irv serve.
Thank you very much. Former Representative Irv Slosberg, thank you. Great. Now we're going to, those are the two candidates for Senate District 29, Representative Tina Polsky and former Representative Irv Slosberg. We now go on to the candidate for House District 81. And right now we have Mr. Michael Weinstein here to speak. Here you are.
Morning.
Good to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Doctor. How are you?
Great. We're doing great here.
All right. So I'm going to start by saying hello, neighbors. I say neighbors because I live in Seven Bridges, which is on the corners. Everybody knows it's in between Atlantic and Clintmore on Lyons Road. It's one of the newer GL communities. I'm basically a lifelong South Florida resident. We lived in Central Boca before this, but my wife and I decided we wanted to raise our daughter in this particular area, so we are very happy. I don't know that we're a member yet of the organization, those Seven Bridges. I looked at the Alliance website, and I didn't see us listed. I saw the bridges, but I didn't see Seven Bridges listed. We're gonna have to change that sooner rather than later.
We will.
So a little bit of background about me. I was raised in Coral Springs. I come from a very political family. My grandfather, Moses Weinstein, was the Speaker of the New York State Assembly, and I grew up hearing his stories. And then my father got elected when I was a child to the Florida State Senate from 1982 to 1996, and where he was the majority leader of the Democratic Party. My mom ran basically family services all throughout the Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach area for 30 years as the CEO of Family Central, which is a not-for-profit child welfare organization. And then my brother was an Obama appointee to the Holocaust Council. So I've been working in the criminal justice field for the past 20 years. I was a prosecutor for a number of years, and then I changed into doing defense work. And I realized that this was my time when this seat opened up, and Representative Polsky decided that she was going to run for Senate. This was my time to serve as well. So having said that, I announced my candidacy in May. Things have been going phenomenally well in the district. As far as I know, I am the only Democrat who actually lives in House District 81, the only person who's running in this particular district. So let me tell you some of my priorities. My background is criminal justice. I served for 3 terms on the Florida Bar Criminal Procedure Rules Committee. I also served on a professionalism committee. The Criminal Procedure Rules Committee helps determine what laws we basically use in the criminal justice system. And I want to use my background in the criminal justice system to act as a bridge between law enforcement and our community, because we don't need to see the type of racial unrest anymore. I have a 3-part plan to do that. Some of that has already been incorporated into law, but I'm working on a 3-part plan once I'm elected. The first is I want to have mandatory de-escalation training in Florida statute. I think that's important for law enforcement to do that. The second part of my plan, because again, as a former prosecutor, I believe I can be a bridge between law enforcement and the community. The second part of my plan is I want to demilitarize the police as much as possible. I don't think we need to see as many fatigues and blacked out cars, because I think that causes some distrust in the community. And the third part of my plan is what I call the Citizen Review Board. There are some folks who do not have, some cities don't have citizen review boards. And I think that if our first responders are also held accountable, not just to their departments, but to the Citizen Review Board, then I think that we're going to be in very good shape. In light of that, I am exceptionally pleased to announce this morning that I got the double endorsement. I got the endorsement of both the Palm Beach County PBA, and I also announced yesterday that I got the firefighter endorsement as well. I sat down with both organizations. I explained to them my vision of being a bridge between the community and the first responders, and I think that they took well to that. They decided to endorse me for both of those things. So what's my plan to victory? I started out, I grew up in South Florida. I know this area like the back of my hand. I have a 94-year-old great uncle who lives in West Boca, who served in World War II. So that community is very important to me. I live in this community, West Delray, so I can, when I speak to you, your issues are my issues. My daughter goes to Whispering Pines Elementary School, which is inside the district. So again, my issues are your issues in this particular agency. Moving on, upwards in the district, I have senior relatives who live in the district. I just mentioned my great uncle. I also have my great aunt, Aunt Naomi. She lives in Boca Raton. She lives in the district. So it's important for seniors because I have family that I have to account for. And last but not least, I know it doesn't include Alliance of Delray, but this district runs all the way up to Lake Okeechobee. So Belglade, South Bay, and Pahokee are part of the district. So having said that, you have to really know the district because it's a 2-part district. There's the suburban western communities, and then there's the northwestern agricultural communities. So I've gone up to Pahokee and Belglade twice to meet with the mayors up there and speak with them and find out some of their particular issues. As I mentioned, I'm the only Democrat who's running who actually lives inside the district. I would ask for your support because I'm your neighbor. I have the proper background. Last but not least, I mentioned my background's in criminal justice. I'm board certified by the Florida Bar as a criminal trial attorney. What that means and how I can turn that into being a good representative. It means that I had to pass one of the hardest peer reviews you could possibly pass. I had to pass judicial peer review, pass a test, and show that I have the proper education and background in order to become a specialist in my field. I plan on using my tools as an attorney and as a litigator. In fact, I've even seen Senator Sachs in court. She and I have been to court a couple of times before together. So having said that, I plan on using my skills as a litigator to advocate for our district in Tallahassee. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're going to cancel that spotlight video, and then we're going to go to the next person. There's actually another Democrat running for House District 81. And this is our former Representative Kelly Skidmore. And she did just join us. She got here just in the nick of time. So we're going to spotlight former Representative Kelly Skidmore. Go ahead and please pay attention to the timing lights up there. It's 3 to 4 minutes, but we don't have a hook to pull you off, and I don't want to put any alarms on, but just check out those lights. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. My apologies for being late. I had a work issue that kept me from joining you right on time, but I'm so happy to be here. Thrilled to see all of you. Thank you again, Lori, and the Delray Alliance. My name is Kelly Skidmore. I'm running for the Florida House of Representatives in House District 81. So for those of you who don't know me, some of you do, because I represented this district, this area previously. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, and I moved with my family in 1972 and grew up in Deerfield Beach. I went to Deerfield Elementary, middle, and high school, and I've lived in Boca Raton since 1984. I'm the fourth of 5 kids in my family. We are mostly a blue-collar family. My mom was a single mom until I was about 7 when she met and married my father, who adopted the 4 of us, and then they went on to have another child. My grandfather was bricklayer. My other grandfather was a machinist at the Campbell Soup Factory, and my father is a retired air traffic controller. So we are a hardworking blue-collar family, and we have been in this community for decades. My husband and I will celebrate our 33rd wedding anniversary in October. We have a 26-year-old daughter who usually lives in Brooklyn. She is isolating here for now, and looking forward to the opportunity when she can get back to New York. So I stand on the shoulders of a lot of people before me, but I've worked really hard for everything that I've accomplished. After high school, I went to the University of Florida, but I had to return home because of health reasons, and I went straight to work. For 12 years, I worked for Arvida, a real estate company. They built some of our communities like Boca West and Broken Sound and Palm Beach Polo out in Wellington. And I worked there in a variety of ways for over 12 years. And then in 1996, I joined the team of Ron Klein, and I worked as a legislative aide in his House and Senate districts for a 10-year period. And that also included a large portion of House District 81. So in 2005, I left the House. Senator Klein went on to run for Congress, and I ran for his original House seat. At that point, I also went to work for the Arthritis Foundation. So some of you may know that I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 4, and the opportunity to be able to work on 2 things that I am very passionate about, legislative process and helping folks with arthritis was an incredible time. While I was in the House, I was the ranking Democrat on healthcare policy and healthcare appropriations. That has been a huge focus of mine throughout my career, is focusing on healthcare. For a brief period of time, I did work with United Healthcare on their Medicaid program. But I was on the leadership team in the Florida House, and my job was to manage all of our healthcare positions and negotiations, and represent the caucus. Most of what we do in the minority party is fend off bad legislation. We're the loyal opposition, and if you don't care who gets the credit, you can still get a lot done. There's in a Republican-led chamber, it's sometimes challenging to get some legislation passed, and so I've used a variety of ways to make sure that I can get done what I need to get done for my community. Passing standalone bills like the prescription drug monitoring program, which I kind of consider my legacy bill, if you will. That was something that was very important to me in terms of people who are living in chronic pain, and they turn to physicians for help and are unwittingly turned into addicts because of the very strong addiction properties of opioids. So I worked on that issue for a number of years, eventually filing a bill with the chairman of the healthcare committee, Republican chairman Marcelo Llorente, and another Republican member, Kurt Kelly. So the three of us championed this issue, and we were able to get our arms around the pill mills that were proliferating in South Florida. I also worked with then Senator Ted Deutsch and Senator Ehrenberg on this issue, an important issue to all of us. I currently am the public relations specialist at the Marine Industries Association of South Florida. We're a trade association of marine businesses that support about 142,000 jobs in South Florida. So mechanics and welders, it's still kind of in that blue collar vein. But I've maintained my advocacy efforts throughout the time since I served over the past 10 years. I know I've run out of time. I'm just going to tell you I'm running for this seat, significant portion of which I've represented in the past. I care about healthcare. My priorities are healthcare, economic diversity, climate change, COVID recovery, and the response. I would love to have the vote of the folks in the Delray Alliance. Vote by mail ballots will be going out in the next 2 weeks. Early voting is from August 3rd through 16th, and election day is on August 16th. So again, I'm Kelly Skidmore. Hope to get your vote. Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much, former Representative Kelly Skidmore. So those were our two candidates for the House District 81, former Representative Kelly Skidmore and Mr. Michael Weinstein, attorney. Okay, we are going to go on to the next one, which we have. I'm going to highlight Representative Emily Slosberg. Okay, now this is Representative Emily Slosberg, and she is a candidate for House District 91. She is she's running unopposed as a Democratic candidate. So let's hear from Emily Slosberg.
Thank you, Lori. I'm Emily Slosberg. I'm the state representative for House District 91. I've lived in Palm Beach County my entire life. I've been privileged for the last 4 years to be the state representative, but have been attending the Alliance meetings for well over a decade. Once a month, I've like grown up attending those Alliance meetings, as the former state representative was my father, Irv Slosberg, and he was always bringing me to the Alliance meetings. My office is on the corner of Hagen Ranch and Atlantic, and the District 91 is probably home to just about a lot of the Alliance communities. It's between Boca Raton, all the way up to Boynton Beach Boulevard, west of Military, east of the Turnpike. So it's a large portion of Alliance lies in House District 91. I want to thank Lori Vineker and Bob Schulbaum for all the work that you guys have done with the Alliance of Delray, a tremendous effort. And most recently, your Alliance driver safety course was approved by the state, and it's just excellent. You're keeping our residents safe, and this is so necessary and so relevant, because we do have issues with driving safety, and it's always good to stay, to continue these type of courses, throughout life. The committees that I served on in Tallahassee, I served on criminal justice, judiciary, agriculture, property rights, public integrity and ethics, state affairs, gaming, health and human services, criminal justice, appropriations, and public council oversight. Every 2 years, they switch our committees. So it sounds like a lot, but we get assigned 4 or 5 committees. My priorities in Tallahassee have always been public safety, mental health, and senior citizens. And I plan to request a new committee in the legislature to solely focus on mental health, because there's so many different committees doing so many different things, but I think it's time that we start really getting mental health into one jurisdiction, one area, and where we can, and especially now, given the COVID situation and what's going on, we need to start really looking at mental health. So that's in the works for next session. I'm also the vice chair of the Women's Legislative Caucus, which meets once a month every time that we're up there, once a week. And so we kind of go through and talk about important bills that are running through the legislature or that are being sponsored. I'm also the incoming chair of the Jewish Legislative Caucus, which is a very important caucus in Tallahassee, especially right now. I mean, there's a situation with the Florida State President, Senate President, Ahmad Draldik. He has, on a website, he's published derogatory comments against Jews. He's compared Jews in Israel to Nazis. He's claimed Jews are harvesting Palestinian organs. And so he clearly has an agenda. He has an agenda, an anti-Israel and anti-Jewish agenda. And so most recently, as incoming chair of the caucus, I had my fellow colleagues in the caucus sign a letter to President Thrasher requesting that the student body president resign, asking for assistance in getting him to resign. We're setting up appointments with President Thrasher, and so far we haven't really gotten any type of results. So in addition to that, I'm looking into expanding the statute, the statute that lays out certain ways that a student body leader, an elected student leader can be removed from office. Because this guy has an agenda and he should not be there. He should not be, this is a position of real power. And not to mention, it's a stepping stone for future positions. I see my time's running out. So with that said, I want to thank you, Lori, again, and thank the Alliance of Delray for hosting this. And also give a shout out to my dad, Irv Slosberg, who's running for State Senate 29. I need another Slosberg up in Tallahassee with me. It would be a pleasure for him to join me up there. And thank you.
Thank you very much for attending, Representative Slosberg. And thank you for all the work you've done over the past few years for us. Great. Okay, I'm going to go on to, we have two more final candidates here for commission. And we have Mayor Dave Kerner and former Senator Maria Sachs. So we're going to start with Mayor Dave Kerner. And right now he's going to come on and I'm going to spotlight Mayor Kerner. So great to see you here today. Thank you so much for coming.
Hey, Doc, and hello, Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do I have, Doc? I apologize.
4 minutes. And if you see in a gallery view, we've got Paul Finkelstein, my co-host, is going to be handling the lights. Can we show those lights again? Okay. Do you see that? At 3 minutes, the green, 3:30, the yellow, and 4, the red, with 30 seconds to wrap up.
I don't, but when you give me a signal, I will be quiet. And I want to thank everybody for allowing me to attend today. My name is Dave Kerner. I am currently County Commissioner for District 3, which doesn't include Delray Alliance, but the issues that come before the Board of County Commissioners in the Ag Reserve, in the Western Boynton, and the Western Lake Worth area where I live and was born and raised are immensely intertwined with the interests of Delray Alliance. I serve presently as the County Mayor of Palm Beach. Obviously, I've been a little bit busy lately with my colleagues on the board as we are the principal unit of government responding to the COVID pandemic here in Palm Beach County. And, I think it's an amazing challenge, but the way that we can all come together through these Zoom meetings has really become a very personal way of interacting with people. And I think it may be the wave of the future. So I can't see you all, and I love public speaking. I love being around people, and so I know that this is a challenging time, but I'm glad that we can continue the dialogue through the use of technology. Just a very brief background about myself. Like I said, I was born and raised here in West Lake Worth. I was really grew up in the city of Lake Worth or right outside of it, but I live in West Boynton, which is Winston Trails. And certainly the Ag Reserve is just outside the door for me. And that's been one of the main focuses of my time in the county commission. But let me tell you briefly what led me to run for public office. I was in a police family. My father was a deputy chief of police for the city of Lake Worth. And of course, my aftercare, I went to the Jewish Community Day School. And right down the road from that was on Parker Ave, just south of Southern. And so from there, I would go to the Lake Worth Police Department, and I just grew up around police officers, and I've always had the deepest respect for that profession. And so it was sort of a natural progression for me as I grew up. I always wanted to be a police officer. I went to the University of Florida on a full academic scholarship and ended up leaving the University of Florida to enroll in the police academy up in Gainesville. And then at the age of 19, I became a police officer. And from there, I went back to the University of Florida and did both my police duties and was a full-time student at UF. I'm a big Gator fan. I think I have a Gator tie on today. And then I served as a police officer, a patrol officer in a small town called the city of Alachua. I was a police officer of the year in 2004. And from there, I moved on to a field training officer position where you train new police officers on the road. And I'm very passionate about law enforcement. I heard some of the other speakers talk about some of the ideas about resolving some of the institutional issues within law enforcement. I'm excited to have that conversation, but I always want us to remember that by and large, the profession is made up of very honorable men and women. And probably no surprise that I have PBA endorsement and FOP endorsement and really every endorsement that I can think of except for the Republican Party endorsement. And I am running against a Republican in the general election. I attended law school at the University of Florida, still serving as a police officer. I came back home and started to serve as a special prosecutor here in Palm Beach County. And then from there, I really had a desire to be in public service in an elected position. I served in the Florida House of Representatives from 2012 to 2016 as the ranking chairman on judiciary. Much respect for my colleagues that are on here today that either serve in the legislature or want to serve in the legislature. For me, it was not my best use of my time, even though we passed a lot of great legislation and killed even much worse legislation. But I wanted to be back home. I wanted to be back in my community. And so I ran for the county commission in 2016 and have served in that position for the last 4 years. I'm excited to be running for re-election. I think we have seen a sea change in the way the county commission here in Palm Beach County responds to their constituents. I think that any member of the Delray Alliance who hasn't seen me work with the community, one of the most tangible results would have been on Monday, where we unanimously killed a very combative ag reserve proposal. Again, this is my hometown. I take my public service very seriously. I like to serve with honor and dignity. I think you've seen the Board of County Commissioners change the way that they interact publicly. And I've been faced with a challenge of my lifetime right now in the COVID-19 response. And you've probably seen, I don't see any light. So if I'm running over, please, Lori, just yell at me.
It's gotten to 4 minutes. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you. I will be back to talk about my general election, I assume, at some point after the primary. And Delray Alliance, thank you for serving our community. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much for coming today, because you're so busy with all that's going on. Thank you for taking the time.
My honor.
We're going to spotlight former Senator Maria Sachs, and she is running for District 5. Commissioner Mary Lou Berger just wanted me to let everybody know that she says hello and she's watching right now. And she just wants you to know that she's not running against Maria Sachs for her. She is term limited in her district commission seat. So she just wants everybody to know that she loves you all. She loves us all, and she is term limited. So we have former Senator Maria Sachs, candidate for Palm Beach County Commission, and you can just go ahead and start. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And hello, Alliance. I want to thank Bob Schulbaum and Dr. Vinegar, everybody on the Alliance for putting this on. This is impressive, Dr. Vinegar, to get everybody on. The yellow lights, I don't see them right now, but you'll let me know when I'm getting a little bit close. And my thoughts now, just take a step aside from politics and campaigning. My thoughts go out to any family who has suffered the loss or is going through right now having this COVID-19. It is something that has affected just about every family here in Palm Beach County. And I want everyone to know that, that we're thinking of you, and that even though we're apart, we're here together in this. I have served as your state representative and as your state senator for 10 years. And during that period of time, what I have worked on that affects those of us here at the House in our Alliance community is, first of all, I have worked hard to develop community centers. I think that the Weissman Center on Atlantic Avenue is always occupied. It's always full. And it's some place where everybody can come together as a community. And I think that's so, so important. I also funded one for Pompano where they continue to use today in East Boynton Beach. but I'm very, very proud of that. I also worked on an issue with solar power technologies for the state of Florida. And Dr. Vinegar, thank you. You had a special meeting with regard to how people can save on their property taxes if they install certain solar power technologies. That's for the whole state of Florida, but I think here in Palm Beach County, we have especially used that to our benefit. Also locally, through the state Senate, I worked on bicycle lanes, which is important as we develop more and more communities out west here in District 5. We need to make sure that we have means of getting around that are safe and that are plentiful and that are important for all of us. And of course, I worked on water issues. You know, everybody here who's listening knows that unless we have clean water, we're not going to be able to live or develop anymore here in West Palm Beach County. And when I talk about water issues, I'm talking not just to keep our waters clean, but also to transfer from septic to sewer and to make sure that any houses or housing developments that go on from now on are hooked up to sewer and does not work on the old way of septic tank. So all that is what I did before. What I want to do is I want to bring it home. When I say home, I mean home. I have lived here in the Ag Reserve for over 35 years. I've raised a family here, 5 children, and now I have grandchildren coming home. So when I say home, this is where I have lived. This is where I intend to continue to live. And I want to make sure that whatever goes on in Tallahassee, all that benefit comes here and that we're able to enjoy it, because Palm Beach County is a donor. We are a donor county. We want to make sure that the monies that we send up there come home. So we have a tremendous county commission right now, and I look forward to working with them. There are about 3 issues that I think we need to focus on that I think are important immediately. Now, if you had asked me 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had the same answer. But today, I see the red is on because I can see Paul Finkelstein. So I will supplement this. I'll send an email to you, Dr. Vinegar, and maybe you can send it out, because I think there are 3 very important issues that really are challenging to us here in the county. And in the meantime, I want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July. Let's not forget that we're still all Americans, no matter what political affiliation we are. Wherever we go, we'll be wearing masks, and we will all stay safe. Thank you, Alliance. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Dr. Vinegar.
And thank you for all the work you've done for us in the past. And that is, you have some great ideas there. Thank you very, very much. And that's an interesting idea, bring it all back home. And this is what we're doing. We're bringing it all back home right now to the Alliance of Delray here. So please, we're going to end this now. I'm a woman of few words, as people do know, and we are just going to go ahead and keep sending you that information by email. And we'll probably have another Zoomcast in the next couple of weeks regarding the issues of some development there on the Type 1 restaurant at Legends Way and Atlantic Avenue. We're not going to forget about that, because we have to work on that together. And please remember, fill out the form and put your vote down as to oppose or approve the project. Get them in, because we're going to be bringing them up in August to the County Commission. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank all our panelists for coming. And it was a really wonderful meeting. Thank you so much. And we're going to end this now.